Recording in progress.
Hello and welcome everyone today to Cricket Tips. It was the pink of Rajasthan going ahead and locking horns with the red of Bangalore, and eventually it was RCB winning with a relatively easy run chase at the end. To discuss it all, I have my two friends in white and I with the black, so that we have a classic color coordination for the event. I have Jay and Nishit with me. Jay, I'll come to you first. Rajasthan batting first. They were going great guns, 100 for 1 after 11 overs, and then they just slumped to 149 for 9 at the end of the 20. How do you summarize this downfall for the
Like,
men?
when we talk about Rajasthan Royals from the past few games, we were seeing that Samson is continuously performing, but the team is not able to cope up. But this time we saw a complete, flip of the whole scenario where they were really going good before the first fall of the wicket or after the fall of the first wicket till the 10th over, I guess. And then in the second half of the game, we could see them slumping down, wickets falling one after the another. There was no middle order today. And even Sanju Samson went out pretty easily. So, today was just a no-show for the whole Rajasthan Royals as a team. And when we talk about that performance, we also have to, take into picture that Virat Kohli did not bowl his aggressive bowlers in the first half of, in the first 10 overs. So at that point of time, when you see, there was no Mohammad Siraj, there was no Yuzvendra Chahal, and they also brought in a new bowler. So in the first half, I guess I would attribute that more to, Kohli not using his bowlers in comparison to the batting lineup. Because then in the second half, we all saw what happened. So, in the first half, we thought it would go till 180s, 200s, and that total might have, sustained. But 150 was just, a very low of a score for this kind of a field.
Yes, true. I mean, it's a good point put up, because not always RCB will have that luxury of the second half where the opposition just throws it away. And these were not very good shots also. I mean, not very good bowling. So sorry on their part, but it was just RR coming and trying to do an Evin Lewis that they just could not, and which eventually costed them the game. For the chase, I'm gonna come to the Indian skipper Virat Kohli. He did not get much today. He only got around 25, but the intent that he came out with DDP at the top. How do you think, Nishit, is this Virat Kohli's form with World T20 around the corner as well?
Yeah, hello Zoipan. I really feel that the way the Kohli has been performing and the way RCB has bounced back, we can draw a lot of parallels in which the skipper has showed his intent. So the word intent is very important here because it sums up the entire essence of RCB's reversal of fortune, so to speak. They have bounced back, and only a couple of points separate them from the top two teams. RCB, the way it has climbed to the top is really phenomenal. We saw how Yuzvendra Chahal, the go-to bowler of Virat Kohli, also coming back to form. Maxwell again performing. Devdutt Padikkal not able to perform in the last match, getting out in the first ball. But the way the openers show their intent, obviously it was quite unfortunate Virat Kohli getting run out by Riyan Parag. But still, the way he had hit 4 boundaries in his score today, but still was quite prolific the way he was dominating. And even in the post-match presentation, he talked about how the team's game plan was always to attack right from the start, and they were expecting this run chase to be around 175, 180 with the way Jaiswal and Lewis started. But after Galton took the wicket, and once the opening partnership of RR broke, as Jay rightly mentioned, everything slumped, and RCB was always, in a way, 2 steps ahead of RR in every format of the game at every instance, and it clearly showed how they dominated them. And it was a very evident when a team in the top 4 and the team in the bottom 4 were competing against each other, and the slumped stances of RR and the positive mindset of RCB was clearly evident. And so I really feel that the way the way Kohli has, his performance has boosted the morale of RCB. While when we talk about RR, Sanju Samson has been performing. We have discussed in our previous videos where the captain has been performing and he has been shouldering the responsibility, but no one has been able to, give him some platform. Today also the openers are able to perform, but then there was no collective effort towards the end. But good news for RCB and Indian fans as well, because Kohli has been performing consistently now. And let's hope that in the remaining matches, maybe in the playoffs and in the semifinals, in the finale, hopefully, Kohli performs and leads his team to victory, which becomes a very positive, great sign for the upcoming T20 World Cup.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. Kohli, as not only as a batsman but as a captain, the aura he brings to the side is something that is difficult to replicate. And I'm gonna speak about Glenn Maxwell now. He's been someone who has his tough times at the IPL for the last 3-4 seasons with Kingston, Punjab, with other franchises. He's been paid a lot of money but underperformed. But in RCB, in his words, he's found a new home. And today at the start, I and Jay were just discussing off air at the start of that Morris over, which is the 17th, and Morris is last. We did not know that the match would get ended so soon. But yeah, he scored 22 of that over, and he ended up with another half century. I guess it is his fourth of the season. So I mean, Jay, how do you feel? Glenn Maxwell has boosted this RCB side and their chances for their maiden IPL title.
RCB, whenever we talked about them, so the top end was secured with Dave, that particular and Kohli, and now in the middle order, when you're having a go-to person like Maxwell sitting there, so at that point of time, it shows in the confidence of the whole lineup. They start playing a completely different game when they know that they can go big, and then if they are not able to make it, they have somebody that they can rely on. Like you have Kyron Pollard and Hardik Pandya in the MI. So Glenn Maxwell has given them that kind of a confidence, and then at the same time, he has been really good at the bowling end too, taking up a few wickets. So when you're experienced players, they step up. So they bring a completely different kind of an aura, different kind of a mood setting. The way Nishit mentioned, when you talk about Kohli. So as a captain, when he comes around, when players with experience bring out these kind of performances, it drives the whole team in that direction. So Glenn Maxwell might just be the X factor. You see Glenn Maxwell performing, you see Harshal Patel performing, and then you see all the other youngsters, they are all stepping up one after another. Yuzvendra Chahal stepping out of his, his spell that he was there in the first leg. So there is a whole momentum going on with the RCB. So this is going to be a really interesting season for them.
Yes, now before I come to Nishit about his thoughts on the same topic, it's a similar maybe a parallel topic that I'm gonna bring up for our discussion of the day, which is about a Rajasthan Royals player known as Liam Livingstone. I saw him at the 100 for the viewers. If you have seen him at the 100, where he was the man of the tournament, he just hasn't been able to replicate that form. In our discussion of the day, I just want to ask you, why do you think certain foreign players, for example, even Ben Stokes, he's been playing for a long time, hasn't yet, set the IPL stage on fire. Why do you think certain overseas players, Liam Livingstone being the latest entrant to that list, just not able to realize their full potential at the IPL? It's something to ponder. And I'll just ask basic thoughts on this. Nishit, you first.
Yeah, so before we talk about Liam Livingstone, I thought I'd chip in and make some quick points about Maxwell. Maxwell's performance, all-round performance, both with the ball and bat, was really brilliant once again. And as Jai mentioned, if you have a player like Maxwell right at the center, it gives a very solid foundation to your team. And when we talk about that, your batting lineup has a lot of depth. Someone like Maxwell always gives a lot of depth and brings the team's batting potential to great heights. And then the bowling, obviously, sometimes we can go for Maxwell if we want to dial down the economy, or if we want some quick wickets if the other bowlers are struggling. And his quick fire 50s, as we saw, 50 from 30 balls today. Very important. I mean, Devdutt Padikkal, Kohli, unfortunately not able to give a great start, but then Maxwell once again chipping in. So as Jay rightly mentioned, sometimes we see that we always feel that maybe Russell for Kolkata or maybe Pollard for MI, maybe these are the big guns, and we tend to underestimate Maxwell. But Maxwell's performance has always been earlier when he was a part of Punjab. He was the one who could change the game single-handedly. But now, today, he mentioned in the post-match presentation as well that maybe as a part of RCB, he has found the right temperament, the right attitude. He feels good, which is a very positive sign. Like while training, off training, he feels as if he has found a new family with the boys. He's able to, gel quite easily with them. And at the end of the day, no matter what sport you are a part of, if you are in the right mindset and if you're enjoying what you're doing, it will be seen in your performance as well. So great to see
Yeah,
Maxwell gelling up
yeah.
with the RCB boys.
Yes, very good point. On that only, I wanted to let you know of what I feel as to what are the reasons that has limited Livingstone in the IPL. Is that just 2-3 points is what I want to make. First, being that Liam is someone who likes to bat at the top of the order. We saw him doing that at the Big Bash with Perth Scorchers, where he was given that license to go and bat freely, which he had done way to a lot great extent. Secondly, I feel just the familiarity of the grounds, of the surfaces, how it will come onto the bat, how it will behave, is something that gets taken away by foreign players when they come to the IPL. Even if it's UAE, it's just far away from their home. The conditions are different. Third, I just feel that there's a mental pressure because we IPL is hyped up, and for good reason, for being the toughest T20 tournament in the world. Players all around the world, they are trying their best to get an IPL contract. The financial aspects of it sets players for lives. But yes, it is something that lot of players just don't cope. We have seen with the Pacers, we have seen with the batters now. Nishit, yes, what do you think about this Livingstone aspect specifically?
Yeah, so I mean, very interesting point mentioned by you, and I would like to shed some more light on it. I feel that IPL always brings a lot of pressure, positive in a way, but then we always feel we have this right from the colonial days. We always feel that if we have an overseas player, it will, bring a lot of it, will add a lot of value to your team. So we see that if there are very talented uncapped players, they might not get for a huge contract, but uncapped overseas players might get a huge contract. So like the moment they come, they are known for the big monies, and rather than talent, with our newspapers or media also talks about how this esoteric or generic overseas guy maybe was bought for 5 crores or 10 crores. So right from the moment they start their campaign in IPL, not familiar pitches, not familiar batting or bowling conditions, but the contract is discussed by everyone. And maybe, as you said, if the pitches of India or maybe UAE, they are foreign to them, they are not, like the conditions are adverse and there is a lot of pressure. And Livingstone, if we talk about Liam Livingstone in particular, he has been struggling against spin in this year's IPL. In 39 deliveries, he has just scored 36 against spin, and he has
It's a
been
disappointing
bowled out
number, right?
4 times. Yeah,
Yeah.
so just 36 runs, getting out 4 times against spin. And today also we saw it was a typical Chahal delivery. The way he got out, it was a floater in a
Right.
way, and he wanted to play the big shot, and it was a simple catch. So
Yes,
at the end
yes,
of the
true. I think I just want to know one thing from Jay because it was very interesting as what he had to say, that maybe there's an irony attached to it. Jay, would you like to say that?
When we talk about IPL, IPL is also known for the overseas players. From the start of it, you name the players: AB de Villiers, Lasith Malinga, then there was Adam Gilchrist, Kyron Pollard, Jack Callis. Those peoples, they brought around a completely different spin to the game that we have not seen from the Indian players. So those players were hyped up that much. And when we talk about players not performing, so at the same time you have to realize you cannot expect a person to perform. They might have their bad times, they might have their slacks, like we see David Warner not performing right now. But you cannot be talking about him in the same way as you're speaking about Liam Livingstone, because he has not been playing that much or not seen that much of exposure with the IPL. So I agree, it is a new place. It is they are in different conditions. But a few games back when Virat Kohli was handed his one of the worst losses. So you heard him say that we are professionals. We are supposed to play at different places in different conditions in different kinds of formats. So, as professional cricketers, we have to step up and we have to deliver. So, that is what is expected of them, and that is what they want to come out and do. And at the same time, when we talk about overseas players not performing, we have even seen Indian players slumping down. So, you cannot, we cannot come down and screen or isolate and then just look at them under the microscope, because this happens to almost all the sports players. It happens to all the people involved in sports. They have their highs, they have their lows, they might have their own reasons. So when we talk about these cricketers, so even we should maybe give them a benefit of doubt, give them a few more chances. Like with Ishan Kishan right now in MI, Surya Kumar Yadav, you've seen them play really good and now they are all in a slump. So
Yes.
the same questions might not be coming up for them because you have no other reason for them. All you can say is that they are in bad form and they need time. So I guess the same applies for these players, but they just don't have that luxury of time because the way that you mentioned, like the pressure they have and the availability, because we don't have that many overseas players in each team. There's a limitation on that. So if a franchisee has purchased a player and he's not performing, so he might be going back in the next time. Like nobody might even bid for him in the next season. So that
Yeah.
kind of added pressure might be like affecting them slightly. But otherwise,
Yes.
these players have come and they have delivered.
True. I mean, there is a lot from what Jay has to say. It's a polite way of asking me not to get too harsh on them. So I'm usually not good on taking signs, be it from anybody. So, but I'll take this one, and yeah, that allows us to move forward to the preview, which is the game tomorrow between CSK and SRH. I remember these two teams were the 2018 IPL final lists where Shane Watson got that bloody century, bloody because he was playing with the bleeding knee. And yes, but though that was 3 years ago, 3 years down the line, CSK are still bossing the points table. SRH, well, to say that they are not so much bossing would be an understatement. So Nishchit, what are you looking at this match? What are the main things that you would keep an eye for?
Yeah, so obviously SRH's chances to stay in the playoffs are very, very bleak, but obviously it's the IPL. Even the slightest statistical uh, perspective can be something that can be true in the future. So they have to win all the matches, the remaining matches, and SRH can be a part of the playoffs. But there was a discussion that was going around on Twitter that the celebrations after SRH's victory were a little too over the top. I mean, they were celebrating as if they had won the IPL, but obviously the celebrations I feel were out of relief because the way they were losing the matches on the trot was something that would have traumatized some of the players. And even Warner, there was a statistic which I saw about Warner that he had consecutive uh, 500 plus scores in the IPL 6 times, and all the records, possible records that IPL player could have. He has all of the records for his team, but maybe his slump of form this time has affected the team a lot, and SRH wasn't able to capitalize on other players so
And for
effectively.
tomorrow's
But
match, what is it that you're looking at for tomorrow's match specifically? It's a player battle or something? Just in brief, 1 or 2 lines.
yeah. So I feel that SRH will be banking upon uh, the new players, how they perform, Warner not performing. But I feel that SRH will be the players are banking upon SRH to win against CSK, because CSK and DC have seemed very strong, but even a slightest miscalculation can prove them wrong. So I feel that Sunrisers can bounce back because their positive mindset with the last victory, and they might want to come out on the top and keep their chances for the playoffs alive.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree completely. Jay, for me, I look at it as if, well, all IPL matches are meant to have some significance, but it is very inconsequential for me if I'm allowed to say that if SRH wins, loses, if CSK wins, loses, the points table does not move as much as it does for other fixtures. So it's more about teams looking within themselves. And what are you looking at this match
I
for?
would say, like, even though the points table won't make that much of a difference, the morals of both the teams would make, like, a huge difference in, like, in the way they are going forward. So with CSK, like, him backing, like, Dhoni backing CSK, and we have SRH coming out with a new lineup. So this might be a completely new team, like, like we saw in the previous performance with David Warner giving up his spot and the person who had came to replace him. He did wonders, and then the team actually went on to win it. So
Yeah.
this might be like a complete change of pace, and this might give SRH the kind of confidence or like their players think that they were looking for. So I would be looking forward to SRH playing with the new team that they've got.
True, true. That's an intriguing game coming our way. Rashid Khan, MS Dhoni, will he get the great man with his googly again? Maybe. For whatever happens in tomorrow's game, we are gonna come back same place, same time. Till then, please go through our videos. We have got lots of them, some banter, some fun. And yes, please like, share, subscribe. Till then, good night. Take care.
Good night, guys. See you all.